Good morning. Good morning. About 2 minutes pre-market here. Pre-market open. Just wanted to do a little bit of pre-market analysis. Go over some higher time frame stuff. We're looking at the daily on NQ here, and we are still bullish on the daily. But look at those 2 daily candles right there. That's awful. Just resting right at the top of that gap. At this point, because ES, if we go over to ES on the daily, ES has hit that gap, if I remember right. Yeah. ES has come down into that gap and grabbed it. And so we would really expect ES to head for all-time highs today, I think, if it's going to. It did come over here and take out this January 24th high. And all-time high is resting just a little bit above at 178.75. So that is kind of my expectation. But if we get down to the 4 hour, it's just nasty. Look at that. This 4 hour gap is holding up really well. We have 30 minutes to the close. If this cap got violated, I may expect lower prices, but it doesn't look like that's gonna. Well, we got 30 minutes, so, and here's the open. It's about, 60 points lower, so 50 points lower. And the bottom of it is about 60 points lower, so. If we inverse that, I may expect lower prices, but for now, I think I'm going to keep a bullish bias. The 1 hour is bearish. It looks like we have a little bit of a swing point here, but I guess we violated that, or we inversed this 1 hour gap. I'm gonna say neutral on the 1 hour. I just don't see anything terribly convincing. If we hop down to the 15, we are technically bullish, but we just took out London high on NQ. I don't think we did on ES. And ES more the same. 4 hour looks just choppy. 1 hour. So on ES, it has taken London low, whereas NQ has not. But NQ took London high. So yeah. Well, wait, no, I'm sorry. London took Asia. My apologies. But NQ's taken London high. ES is not. I guess NQ has taken Asia low. Never mind. Disregard. So, let's see. A violation of this 1 hour will definitely have me bullish. Back up to the upside. We'd be looking for London and Asia highs on ES. ES has already inversed that high. So we'll see. Nice little sweep down right here into the midnight open. Wouldn't mind a little run down. Maybe to take out the existing New York AM low and then run higher. Of course, that would just be sloppy too. We do have some Fed speakers this morning. Goolsby here in a few minutes, and then I think Musalem at 12:05 and Barr at 2:30. So I'll have to keep an eye on those. But that's kind of what we're looking for. I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer into the session to trade unless something just crazy obvious pops up. I feel like I've rushed it the last couple days. So I did end up taking another trade after stream and made back most of the losses yesterday. It was a good trade, but anyway, but my point is, I think I'm just a little bit early. I do better when more structure forms, and I can form a little bit better of a narrative, I think. Just take higher probability stuff, and so I think I need to wait a little bit into the morning before pulling the trigger, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think I'm gonna have a hard time being bullish, at least taking any longs at the moment until ES violates this 1 hour and inverses it. I think that's probably gonna be the condition. Because while I am bullish, like overall, we had a pretty good sell down kind of in Asia and then a retracement in London, and I'm wondering if we're gonna get continuation in New York. And so, because like if we fib this out, it tapped equilibrium and kind of continued to sell off, at least on ES. And same on NQ. So, in that framework, it does look a little bit more bearish, and then ES is a little bit weaker, it looks like. Just a little bit. But pretty ugly here so far. Wouldn't say a lot of movement, just continuing to kind of chop. But then at the same time, like on NQ here, this looks like a pretty good raid. It just goes down and takes out resting liquidity. And then look at that buy up. So it's just 6 points, ES points to the top of this gap. Perfectly doable in the next 17 minutes. So I think that will be our condition. Well, that's a pretty good sell-off. Out of that 1 hour gap. don't really have anywhere for a good stop. I mean, well, let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess 30 points higher. We could probably do that on a lower, with a smaller size. See, but then the problem also is, yes, kind of ran down, took out all these lows, you bet, but it kind of does almost look like a manipulation in this new week opening gap. So it kind of becomes like, how low does it want to go? Yeah, NQ has not taken London yet, so I think we're going to play that if we can get a retrace into this 1 minute gap. Kind of not look like we're going to. Nope. Okay, so we're looking for PDL, obviously, at this point. Sitting down there at the 117s or so. But NQ has taken London, so it makes it much more difficult to say, well, does it actually want to go for PDL, or is it just going to be satisfied with London? Especially when you come out and look at the 4 hour. There's no follow through anywhere. So it does make one skeptical. But that would kind of be the natural next target. And keeping in mind, the NQ has not dipped into this daily gap yet at the 40s. So that could be a potential as well. Just kind of running. Didn't get much of a retracement. If we wanted to watch ES as well, make sure we don't have any SMTs off the bottom somehow, maybe between PDL. So I do like how we were kind of able to adapt and sort of take a second look at the bias and sort of go through the AMD a little bit, or well, rather expansion, retracement, reversal, continuation, and say, okay, that during Asia and New York PM yesterday, we had a sell-off, and then London retraced to the 50 fib. That played out pretty nice. I like that narrative a lot. Pretty happy with that. Just not really getting an opportunity for participation is the problem. I mean, not even on the 1 minute. There's not even been a 1 minute gap to retrace into yet. Here's one right here, but I mean, don't love that. Being this far down and having no other PD arrays to hide behind. You could easily get taken out there. So I'm thinking we're just gonna get ran without us, and then pretty good SMT off the top between ES and NQ. NQ having taken London high and ES is not, and there goes prior day low for NQ. So at this point, we're going to see what it does around this level. And if we get continuation, I fully expect that daily gap to get tapped into. If we continue to displace below this prior day low, and that's another 70 points or so. So, all right, I'm going to run to the restroom real quick. Wow. All right then. Well, that's some garbage. Not even a retracement. What am I supposed to do with that? That's irritating. So it got pretty obvious. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. It got pretty obvious right at this 940 candle. So, you know, literally the only entry would be some form of going off this order block. Which, you know, 174 up to the high, 199. That would have been a pretty good entry. Probably what we should have done. I just was not quick enough. I probably was looking for more of a 1 minute retracement into this gap once it was formed. And we just never got it. This gap at 944. Just never got it. And then look. Off a cliff. So. At this point, we are off about 74-ish basis points, 77 basis points on NQ, 48 on ES. So what we want to do now is kind of start to look for continuation or signs of reversal. The problem is with reversal, I mean, I'm going to have a lot of conviction that is not going to come from anything but a 15-minute or a 1-hour inversion back up to the upside. I would need a pretty big buy up. So, more likely, what we'll be looking for is a retracement to then participate in a continuation, I don't know, later on this morning, perhaps. We do have Commerce Secretary Lutnick talking. It looks like Zelensky, or it looks like there was a joint Kyiv press conference that was canceled at the U.S.'s request. More budget cut stuff. Just a lot going on. Crazy amount going on between Ukraine, Russia, between the tariffs, between the cuts of the executive branch. It's wild. Wild times. Not sure. It's a little bit harder to get any certainty on the trading side of things. Boy, continuation, it looks like. Golly. Was there even a 1-minute retracement? Yeah, there was. Right above daily low, or the daily gap. So, I mean, you're not going to, I would imagine, blind short a 1-minute gap after having just dipped into the daily. At least if you are, you probably need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Of course, with this expansion, I mean, this is an aggressive expansion, so maybe that gives you some more conviction in it, but it would be hard for me to trust anything. A 1-minute gap. Let's bump out here and start looking for some other targets, like, sorry. Like, daily gap fill, see where that's at. Oh, that's way down there. Yeah, I doubt we do that today. Unless we just stay super heavy. There's a 4-hour gap resting at 990. So that's probably as good a place as any. But this looks like, I mean, 4-hour close here in 30 seconds. This looks like the beginning of a pretty good sell sequence, though. So that's pretty wild. I'm not really exactly sure if there was a specific macro driver that was sending that. All right, for our 4-hour close, we need a good retracement. Golly, dude, that is crazy. If you were quick enough to get in on this morning, kudos. I say it a lot. I've definitely leaned more on the cautious side of things. So I miss opportunities like that. But if you're just like, you know, going off CISD or some kind of shift, then good job. Jeez, man. What the world? That's crazy. Oh, Walmart issued a week forecast. Oh, okay, there's their earnings call, so I just missed that. That was up at 7 o'clock this morning, or 8 o'clock this morning. All right, well, that checks out then. So we're off 100, almost 20 bips on NQ, and no sign of slowing down. So at this point, we have now displaced very well past the prior day low. I mean, straight into the CE of the daily gap. So, I mean, that gap fill is definitely in the cards. Super volatile day. So this is definitely a light size day. I mean, you just can't, the numbers are too big to go heavy. We've had one 1 minute retracement in this entire sell-off. One. The only reason that happened was because we hit the daily gap. That's wild, man. And here's the second one. Coming off the CE of that gap. Got a 5 minute gap up here at the 75s, so that might be a retracement level. The problem is we've hit the CE of the 1 minute gap. Man, what a buy up! Because we were off. I mean, we already bought up about 40 bips on NQ. So maybe we're just taking a breather. Okay, we're in a 5 minute gap right now on NQ. Aren't we? Yeah, a real small one. Let's see if we head up to the 74s or not. Definitely finding some resistance in that gap. Small as it is. Rejecting that gap for now. Let's check in on ES. I haven't really been paying enough attention. NQ heading off lower again. Get over there for you. I think I just need more of a retracement before I'm interested in getting short down here. I don't think that little one or that little 5-minute gap is going to do it for me. All right. If this 1 minute BPR gets violated, I will go short with one micro. I just feel like that's such a mistake. Without seeing a bit more of a retracement. It's kind of getting held up at that 22,000 retest point. I would imagine there's a lot of buy-in going on in this area. Wow. Battling it out. Really want to try counter trend long here, back up into that premium 5-minute gap, but you know, at the same time, I don't really want to get cute with heavy days like today. I do think that works though. If if somebody was interested. Something like that. Nice 2-to-1. I just don't really counter trend trade much, and if I do, I'll go for small base hits. Well, I thought we'd get some good rejection off that 22,000 psych level and maybe head on back up a little bit, but maybe not. I'd probably be at break even at this point. Or maybe just under that 1 minute LB. Maybe at the bottom of that 1 minute 10-15 10-15 candle. PDL is going to be a good retracement target. Also, I wouldn't necessarily hold a runner because if I'm counter trend trading, I'm only doing base hits with the full position. I mean, this is a 2-to-1, so you know, base hit, but I don't. Some people may not call that a base hit, but the point remains: when you're counter trend trading, you want to go for the low hanging fruit. Low hanging fruit is this 5-minute gap right here. And there's that hit, so that would have been a 40-point dish play. Now from here, I'll be looking for shorts back down. To target what? I'm not sure, but it's just a heavy down. I mean, we're only down 65 bips, so that would just be wild if that was the sell-off and not the beginning of a sell sequence. Because look, I mean, I would just be astonished. Getting some favorability out of Gouldsby this morning. It looks like he said, or I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but they said PCE is not likely to be as sobering as a CPI number. And so, the market's obviously going to like that news. That was 2 minutes ago. Digging into that 15-minute gap too. Like I said, that PDL is going to be an interesting bounce point, potential bounce point if you do want lower. So, on one hand, that was a pretty heavy sell-off, and has kind of convinced me for lower. But here's always what I struggle with in framing bias. On the other hand, that was a pretty big sell-off, and we hit some pretty major objectives. And so how do you balance like wanting lower with potentially that already having achieved the downside objective and heading back on higher? So that's kind of what I'm wrestling with at the moment. Especially after this buy up, because I mean we were off about 100 and maybe 120 basis points. And now we're only off about 55. So we've bought up 65 basis points already. Which is pretty good. Let's pull a fib here. Kind of see where we're at. I'm going to pull a fib in New York. So we've come into equilibrium right here in Q. And ES as well. So this would be a pretty good retracement area. Now, having said that, the buy up is convincing enough where I am probably going to have to see a 5-minute inversion to feel good about hopping in short. I'm not going to just jump in at the first 1-minute inversion, I don't think. I think that's a little bit too aggressive. But it is just kind of stair stepping up, which is, I mean, that's good if you're looking for lower, especially as we enter this kind of minor macro time period. That's kind of what you want to see going into a macro, is a kind of slow, like a big sell-off, slow retracement, like a slow grind back up. And then we want to look for a slam lower during the macro. It's such an easy model, works really well. Really all you have to do is manage your risk and figure out your entry. And that's the part I'm struggling with right now, is do I want to wait for this 5-minute gap right here? If it hangs on, we still have 2 minutes to get violated, or do we find a 1-minute inversion? I'm kind of leaning toward the 5-minute gap at this point. So starting to get a little heavy here. And it all comes down to like the RR as well, you know. For me at least. Um, 40 seconds until this 5-minute gap closes. I have a 1-minute engulfing candle here. Let me mark out the 5-minute that I'm looking at for y'all. So if your bias is lower, you want to see that 5-minute violated. If you look at the 1 minute, this is not to me a terribly convincing buy up for like reversal conditions yet. Now part of that may be it's still just trying to figure out what it wants to do, but this is kind of that slow, indecisive, meandering buy up that I like to see if I am looking forward to slam down. We have come up and grabbed the CE, it looks like, of this 15-minute gap. Maybe not quite the CE. Very close. So That's also playing in our favor a little bit. No gap on ES though. ES trying to run up and grab that, smack that PDL for a retest. I really like a play short off of that. If this doesn't just buy all the way back up. Really slowing down here. Still have that unmitigated 5-minute gap sitting below us. Oh, y'all were still on mute, and I was talking into muted mic. What I was saying is I think I'm gonna need a 5-minute close below the 5-minute gap. Sometimes I say that because sometimes I will go off of a 1-minute close below the 5-minute gap. Just sort of, not very often, but sort of depending on price. However, I think I would feel better about a full 5-minute close, which is generally what you want. You want whatever time frame you're on, whatever time frame gap you're working with. That's the time frame you want to violate said gap. And so, I think that's probably a good approach. Even if it even does inverse it, we'll see. May not. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get that 5-minute close underneath on this candle anyway. It's actually a pretty good buy up. We do have a macro coming in 9 minutes that we'll be paying pretty good attention to, I think. Really would like a PDL tap before running lower again, but beggars can't be choosers. Getting closer to that macro here in about 5 minutes, which I don't hold too terribly tight. There seems to be 2 or 3 minutes on either side of that 10:50 time period for the macro to start. So, for instance, like I would probably consider the macro having already started here in the next minute or so. I mean, and we can kind of see some volatility already injected. So, I may go ahead and take on this any sort of 1 minute retrace. Looks like we are starting to sell off here, but I do need to close below on the 1 minute at least. And then maybe if we can get a retap of that 48. Oh, man, ES a lot weaker. Did not get a retap on the 1 minute. And I don't love this RR either, is part of the problem. Minute and 20 before 5 minute close. Kind of looks like this is just going to dump though. Yeah, dang it. Yeah, it's just a little bit too big of a stop. Well, hold on now. If we can get a retrace slightly higher. Come on. just not there for me. Well, what I was really looking for or at was, I mean, this would have been ideal right here. And just try to go for that 3.5 to 1 or whatever it is, almost 4 to 1. But you'd definitely be well, no, you wouldn't be break even just yet until that 993 area. So You definitely you definitely be break even on this trade here by now. So if you didn't partial, you'd still be sitting break even. I mean, it ran about 70 points or so far. Just watching ES, I kind of want to. I mean, if ES comes up into this gap, I think that's kind of what it's aiming for. But maybe it's just souping the 5-minute previous candle. I don't know. Do we have a 15-minute gap anywhere? No, not yet. Nope. ES, yeah. I mean, ES is a good bit weaker here, so kind of wanting an SMT off the bottom if you want to see some higher prices maybe this afternoon or later this morning. I did not enter this trade, which I'm kind of kicking myself for. I mean, there's so many opportunities. I'm not really sure why I didn't. I'll have to focus on that a little bit. Think about it. There were a lot of opportunities to enter, from the 1-minute inversion on the 1046 candle, or the retest of the 1046 gap, or the 5-minute inversion, or the 5-minute gap. There were just a lot of different opportunities. So, kind of disappointed a little bit. NQ holding up a lot better than ES is at the moment. Kind of fighting off low a day. I would definitely be looking for ES to come up into this 5-minute gap and then slam the low a day. I don't imagine we get that close and then don't take it. I mean, it does happen, but I think on this particular day, with how heavy it's been, I do think we probably run low of day at some point. On ES, I'm not convinced about NQ at all. In fact, NQ is rallying pretty good here into the CE of this 5-minute gap. Right here, I got a lot going on, so you're pretty close to break even there if you didn't take a partial, which is fine. I would have definitely partialed if I had the position sizing for it. do not understand ES's hesitance to get up and dig into that gap. That's crazy. NQ, this is a pretty favorite setup of mine. See if I can hurry here. NQ came up, tapped the CE of the 5 minute. When draw is clearly lower. Now we want a violation of this 1 minute gap. I was looking at this gap, this lower gap here, but now this is the gap that's put in the high. Or this is the candle that's put in the high. So ES still has not come up into its gap though. Definitely going to want to see that before any sort of slam lower. There it is. NQs are rallying pretty good here. Parked it right at the top. Those sons of guns, man, they do that. It's crazy. Make you wait for another 5 minute candle. It's starting to look like maybe it wants higher. Maybe a PDL retap. Could be in the cards. This leg here is starting to look very manipulative. Didn't catch that, and I don't know that I would have taken it anyway. Where are we at on the 15? What time is it? 10, so we had an hourly close. Let's see where we're at there. Oh, we got an hourly gap up above. That is probably what it's driving toward. With NQ being quite a bit stronger, so that's what you'd want to take on if you're going to look for it. Keeping in mind this would be very counter trend.
Order filled. 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 Order filled.